Welcome back to Pace Immigration, paceimmigration.com, talking with U.S. and Canadian immigration lawyer Michael O'Rourke. Michael, how's it going?
Pretty good, Sean. How's it going?
Very well, thanks. We've got flagpoling. We've talked about this before, Michael, but it's back in the news again because some rules have changed. For people watching this in the future, don't worry too much about the dates that we mentioned, but these are the rules that are going to be in place for now anyway on flagpoling. The question is, when and where at the border can you do it? And the Canadian government has decided they want to be a little more specific about that, the when and the where. But let's talk about flagpoling for the uninitiated, or for the people who are like, wow, I've heard that I can use this for my immigration problems. What is flagpoling, Michael?
Sure. So flagpoling is a temporary exit from Canada and then a re-entry. And it's used to update your status, to get a permit, study or work permit. Sometimes in the past, people have used it for landing as permanent residents. You can also get temporary residence permits occasionally from CBSA if you're inadmissible, though that's usually not in a flagpoling context. But our immigration law allows for certain nationalities, people who do not require temporary residence visas, to apply for certain immigration benefits at the border.
Right, and we've seen this in the news. The CBC was reporting on it, as we've discussed before, that thousands of people a year are doing it now. And the parlance of flagpoling is what it is. And people are leaving, they walk around the flagpole at the U.S. and Canadian border, and then they come back into Canada and they want to get these work permits or study permits and things renewed. You're not a big fan of it, though, and the funny part is neither really is the government.
No, the CBSA officers don't love it. The CBP officers on the U.S. side of the border really don't like it because they have to do stuff.
Right.
And there is some inherent danger with it. The reason why I don't like it is if you might be inadmissible to the U.S. for some reason, or if you've had an overstay, or if you have some sort of criminal past or something like that, if you put yourself in front of a CBP officer on the U.S. side of the border, they still have to go through the administrative refusal process. And when they do that, they run your passport information, they probably do a criminal check, and things can happen. It's a good way, if everything works perfectly, to get your permit, study or work permit fast, but it's not foolproof.
Right. Don't expect that when you go to the United States, that's just you're waving and see you later. Like, they actually want to talk to you.
Yeah, or they really don't want to talk to you, and they're gruff, and they're it's just not. You're taking risks if you're doing it, and then the officers on the Canadian side of the border, they already are doing quite a lot of work. They find that this is a burden to do a study permit case or a work permit case, and if they've got hundreds of people in front of you in line, you might not actually even be able to renew your permit. So that could cause a status issue in Canada if you've waited till the last minute as well.
Right. And I've got here that what's interesting to me is on the IRCC website, which is Immigration Canada, we've got here, if you decide to come to a port of entry for immigration services, in other words, flagpoling, and they even write flagpoling on the website, you may find long lineups and your turn may not come before the end of service hours. We highly recommend you use IRCC's online services. So it's kind of funny. They don't recommend it, they don't like it, but they allow it to continue.
Well, it's in the law. It is available under IRPA, the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. Of course, they would rather that everything be done internally in Canada. And, if you do file, say, a work permit extension, and you do it before your work permit expires, then you have something called implied status or maintained status, where you're able to continue working while you're waiting for our IRCC to process your new work permit. This doesn't work all of the time, and maintain status or implied status doesn't always work in the instance that you might need it. So for instance, if you're going from temporary residence status to permanent residence status, or things of that nature, you don't get to carry over. But in the majority of cases, an online application is actually a better route to go because you do get the maintained status. It's just that you're going to have to wait for it.
Okay, but let's say somebody does do some flagpoling, and then we've got this new video that we're doing here because we're updating when and where at the border can you do it, because as of May 30th, 2024, the Canadian government changed the rules a bit, and they said there are only certain places, and at those certain places, there are only certain times. And I'm going to go through these quickly, and people can hit pause to look at the times, or they can go, of course, to the IRCC website, which we recommend because these times are going to change. Things are going to change as things go on when you're watching this video. So don't take it as absolute gospel that this is when it's going to happen. But we have here in Quebec 1, 2, 3, 4 places with different times, 12 to 7, 8 to 5, 9 to 3, that you can go. We have in Ontario. Ontario was interesting to me, if only because actually that was the easiest one because they just said 8 to midnight on all 3 of these places. But Michael, interesting.
Tuesday through Thursday.
Right.
Don't go on Monday or Friday, and never on a weekend.
That's right. Don't even bother us on a weekend. Interesting, conspicuous by its absence, the Ambassador Bridge in Windsor.
Yeah, Ambassador Bridge, the Blue Water Bridge between Sarnia and Port Huron, the I forget what the bridge is called between the Sault Ste. Maries, but
right.
So they have taken the Buffalo Niagara crossings and a couple Quebec, New York crossings, Quebec and Vermont too. But then, to steal your thunder for the next slide, 5,000-ish kilometers away, you can do it at a couple BC crossings. But about the middle of the country.
Yeah, it's very strange. In the middle of the country, there's absolutely nothing. So if you do want to do flagpoling, the rule is now you can only do it Quebec at those 4 places that we mentioned, Ontario at those 3 places that we mentioned, and then across the country in what on their website is called the Pacific region. But I clicked on all of these crossings, and they're all in BC. So they're called Pacific region, but it's British Columbia. And there's these crossings, and we have here like Boundary Bay is Monday to Thursday, but you better get in there quick because it's 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I mean, I can envision if you show up at 1 p.m. at Boundary Bay, they might say, we're not going to get to you by 2 p.m., so you might as well turn around and get out of here.
Yeah, the Boundary Bay crossing is really small, but Aldergrove and Douglas are the main crossings, and Pacific Highway are the 3 main crossings between the Vancouver area and northwestern Washington.
Right.
10 to 4, so 6 hours, 4 days a week. It's very limited.
Yeah, so be advised. I mean, because we've watched or we've seen the news stories and things of people crossing early in the morning and waiting until later in the evening getting it processed. It looks like that's not going to happen anymore. All of these pretty much are within bankers' hours. Like you're not going to get processed after. The Ontario is the only exception, I think, where you can get processed by 8 p.m. But after that, you're out of luck.
Exactly. And also something to know, study permits are not processed at some of these ports. I remember, especially in Lacolle in Quebec, they do not process study permits. So again, check the website before you go. Call one of us. It's just, this is in flux. I think this is a way to restrict the program still while maintaining adherence to the IRPA and to our immigration law, but by severely restricting it to just these 11
right
now.
Yeah, we've got here again New York Senator Chuck Schumer recently. So speaking at a press conference, this is from the National Post. Schumer said the process is increasing traffic and wait times here at the border, hampering smooth commerce between our nations and hampering tourism. He's referring to flagpoling. He's a New York senator, so obviously he has skin in the game, or maybe he's got people calling him and complaining about flagpoling. He referred to flagpoling as a loophole that needs to be closed. It's not really a loophole. It's just what it is.
Yeah, it's in the law.
Yeah, it's in the law, and people are doing it. But I just wanted to put this up because it is on politicians' radar. And now that you're seeing some of the hours get tightened, and then you've got a New York senator talking about it, I mean, these things could change even more.
Yeah. Although Mr. Schumer has his opinion, he could also work with the U.S. government, say with Customs and Border Protection in the U.S., to increase the staff at the ports of entry.
Yes, that's true.
Another option there.
Right. Rather than just stopping things altogether, they could actually help some people out.
Exactly. Another thing that a colleague of mine brought up, Andy Semichuk, who has done some videos for PACE in the past, he said, why don't we set up just right near the ports of entry, but still within Canada, processing centers that can take these people who need immediate help with their permits and reissue them while they're still in Canada, not having to burden the ports of entry, and create some sort of legal fiction where Canada assumes you have left, process it, and then lets you go back on your merry way. I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
The U.S. tried stateside visa renewal for certain categories for a very limited pilot project, and it was quite successful. But as immigration changes, as the needs change, as we have more people using the immigration system in Canada, we have to be more innovative.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of weird. You're right. I mean, why is it, if you know that thousands of people are basically packing a small case and then walking across a bridge to turn around and come back getting it, why not just have the office on this side of the bridge and let's get it done?
Because, Sean, that would make sense.
Okay, Michael. So that's flagpoling. When and where at the border can you do it? Those are the three places: Ontario, BC, and Quebec. And inside those places, there's only a few places you can do it, and the times are tight. So make sure you go to the IRCC website, double check before leaving. And if you have any questions before leaving, what you should do is call Michael O'Rourke or email him at mo'rourke@pacelawfirm.com. Michael, thanks for this. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for allowing me to be cynical again on a Thursday.
Enjoy the weekend. Bye, Michael.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.